Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Barbara Lee, Speaking Truth to Power. And this is a new documentary focusing on Representative Barbara Lee, and it's your pretty standard kind of documentary. It has interviews, it has shots of Senate hearings and House meetings and House votes and stuff like that. There's nothing flashy about this documentary, but what it does do is put a nice spotlight on a pretty significant figure that I didn't know much about. It has a range of interesting interviews with different politicians, obviously really just focusing on those who give perspective on the impact that Representative Lee has made. You have AOC, you have Claiborne, you have a whole lot of politicians. You have Danny Glover, who connected with her to try to do a lot of good. And you see all the different kinds of things that Lee has fought for. You've seen her try to fight for different things like food rights and making sure that people don't have to pick between feeding themselves and having a home. And that was another big thing, is the homelessness fight. The biggest aspect of this film that was very intriguing is 9/11 and the aftermath of 9/11. And I didn't realize she was the only one who didn't vote to go to war. And her perspective on why, and her reaction to how even the memorial service for those who died went. It's such an interesting perspective, and it's her standing up to this isn't constitutional. It's the House has to decide on this to go to war, and should we just be giving these blanketed powers to the president? And there's a lot to be said about this bold choice that she made of not voting for something that literally everyone else did after 9/11. And what was right and what was wrong, and looking in hindsight all these years later, going to Iraq, going into Afghanistan, were these the right things to do? And you have her perspective and her influence and what she was able to do for women and minorities, and being that focal figure of honor and values of somebody who isn't just voting down party lines, isn't just being I'm against you because you're the other party. It's really, who can I connect with to support the things that I know are the right things to do? And that kind of thing is very honorable. And she calls out, she called out Republicans a lot for a lot of some of the same things that you'll see about the heartlessness and you don't care about minorities, you don't care about homeless people and all these different kinds of things. And it's hard not to argue that point when a lot of people act the way that they do in politics. And as a libertarian looking from the outside in on both of these parties, it's very uncomfortable time in politics in our country. And this was an interesting documentary. It's an interesting person and a pretty standard documentary. From a filmmaking perspective, there's nothing interesting about this, but from a story perspective and a character perspective, this was so intriguing, and there's a lot to process and a lot to think about, and I definitely think this documentary is worth your time, especially to broaden your horizons and see these different kinds of perspectives, because I feel like seeing different perspectives is always important, because then you can see where other people are coming from. So give this one a shot. But those are my thoughts on Barbara Lee, Speaking Truth to Power. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.